Untamed.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin Devlin, Lachlan War, iOS It's Only Sport. We do a 3-hour radio show on the platform. You got to download the app to listen, subscribe to Platform Plus, and donate, keep us in regular employment. We would love you for that, and support our sponsors and advertisers, please, because we're battling here in the media landscape in New Zealand. We only survive because of the generosity of those that support us. Every day we take 3 hours out of the program to talk about silly old sport. And today, the Black Caps against the West Indies. Lots of rugby on the program today too. Paul Tito, the assistant coach for the Blues. And introducing Kevin Malloy, chairman of the board. What board? The Super Rugby Pacific board. Did you know that that was in existence? Where is their office? How many people do they employ? What exactly does he do? Well, he answered all of those questions for us today. We reflected on the life and times of the legend that is the logo. Jerry West, Costo's Corner as well. So much sport to squeeze in. We've only got 3 hours to do it, and this podcast is a condensed version of. We begin the show the same way every day. I say tablets in hand, gather my flock. It's time for a sermon. Another couple of All Black coaches added. That brings the total to... well, let's find out when we go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Another wicket gone. 30 for 5. Black Caps coasting. 2 more expert coaches have been added to the All Blacks coaching group, bringing the total involved in the management team to, get this, 25, I'm not joking. 9 of those are coaches, 6 are performance analysts or performance scientists. The rest are doctors, physios, dietitians, nutritionists, managers, media managers, operations managers, business managers, and a logistics manager to figure out who are all these people, what they do exactly, and where they're all going to sit on that big bus that they need to transport the whole crew around. The 9 with the word coach attached to their names are Scott Robertson, head coach, Jason Ryan, forwards, Leon McDonald, attacks, Scott Hansen, defence, Jason Holland, he's simply an assistant coach, Tamati Allison is contact and skills, Wayne Smith, performance, and now 2 new assistant coaches in Corey Flynn, throwing coach, and David Hill, kicking coach. That's 9. Now, you'd hope that doesn't mean there's a lot of mixed messages going on, but the sheer volume of people involved does look a little top heavy. Plus the cost. The salary bill alone is close to $10 million a year just for the All Black coaches, and that's before you even start adding in 33 players. And you might wonder why such highly skilled, experienced athletes would even need someone to teach them how to throw, catch, kick and pass a rugby ball. But again, these brains are far more advanced in terms of the sport and its intricacies than you and me will ever be. But yes, they do officially now need another separate coach to transport all those coaches around. And yes, you got to wonder whether they will all get in each other's way. Do remember the Black Ferns only needed 3 coaches to win a Rugby World Cup. That was Wayne Smith, Mike Cron and Graham Henry. Look, I'm not being critical, but yes, I am definitely quizzical. My only question is the same one Team New Zealand always ask. It's simple, it's to the point. Does it make the boat go fast?
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
Sports news headlines, Lachlan. What have we got?
Plenty, Martin, plenty. As it gets to this point of the week, a Thursday, it's always nice and juicy and meaty with some of the storylines that are swirling about, often though it is to do with sports results, matches that are going on, things that are coming up. And at the moment, that is how I will start. The Black Caps. Look, we, like most people, have been absolutely ripping them to shreds this week, culminating in a rather comical about minute-and-a-half segment on my extended news bulletin yesterday. We kind of pretending that we were the coaches and we had our laptops out and going, oh, that's why we lost the opening T20. We had our test plan out. Oh, damn, it's not a test match, though. It's a T... Anyway. But the Black Caps have started really well. 23 for 4 are the West Indies. So the Black Caps taken 4 wickets early on within 6 overs. They're in the 6th over right now. That's nearly completed. In terms of the wicket takers, Trent Bolt with 1. He took the first one, I believe, Martin. You were watching closer than I was.
Chopped onto the stumps, yep.
Tim Southee's got 2. Wow. When's the last time that Tim Southee's been that productive in white ball cricket? Lockie Ferguson with 1 as well. They're the only 3 bowlers that have bowled, so each have taken at least 1 so far. As I say, the West Indies 23 for 4. The live win probability, it makes its return.
32 for 5 now, man.
32?
32 for 5.
Well, mine says 23 for 4.
Okay.
My scoreboard.
I'm watching it live.
What?
Yeah.
It's stuck on 23 for 4.
Yeah, I'd say that the win probability would give the Black Caps 85.
Oh, you're so close. Be less generous to the Windies.
88?
Or close.
89?
No, the other way.
87%.
87% chance.
87%.
Okay, well, the Google scoreboard is broken, so I'll get my ESPN Crick Info scoreboard up because that'll be... So 32 for 5, as Martin says there, is the actual score right now. We'll keep you updated. Earlier on, no upset win for the USA. They got one over Pakistan nearly a week ago. They were taking on India. Wasn't to be, though. India easily winning this one. 7-wicket margin. Do you call it margin in cricket? I guess you do. Margin of victory. 7 wickets in the end, the win. It hands India a ticket through to the Super 8 round. Not that that was ever really in doubt, but they are officially through to the next phase of the T20 Cricket World Cup. The Hurricanes have confirmed that in-form prop Xavier Numia will play no further part in their Super Rugby Pacific campaign, even if they make next weekend's final. Really bad news, really sad news for the Canes. An injury to Numia, who's one of the stand-up props of the comp so far. He suffered a calf injury during a scrum in the first half. That was back in the quarterfinal over the victory over the Rebels. He was still having scans to determine the full extent of the damage. Coach Clark Ladle, although confirming his Super Rugby season is over. Could potentially deny him a maiden All Blacks call-up as well. That with Razor set to name his squad in 2 days' time after the final. Curiosity is what has driven former All Black Conrad Smith to take up the whistle. Now living in New Plymouth, after COVID forced him and his family out of France, the 94 Test All Black has taken up refereeing this season. That's cool to see. Great story. Obviously, this is around what Martin's sermon was on, but Scott Robertson has added 2 new faces to join his All Blacks coaching ranks. Corey Flynn, David Hill. They have been labelled throwing and kicking coaches, because apparently when you get into the All Blacks, you don't know how to do those things. You need to be coached on how to do it. Big news out of the NBA. Jerry West, widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. His silhouette was the inspiration for the NBA's logo as well. He has passed away at the age of 86. A 14-year career in the NBA, all with the Lakers. Won 1 championship. Was in 9 finals series, lost 8 of them. He lost 6, then managed to finally win 1, then lost another 2. Served as an executive at the Lakers as well. Probably as successful, if not more, with that than he was as a player. Also was a big constructor, if you will, orchestrator behind the brilliance of the Golden State Warriors. Helped put that team together when they were so dominant in the NBA. So Jerry West has passed away. I guess big news in the swimming world. Ariane Titmus, the Australian swimmer, has broken the 200-metre freestyle world record, taking the record from Molly O'Callaghan, compatriot, in a stunning battle last night at Australia's Olympic swimming selection trials in Brisbane. So probably something to come in terms of the Olympics and what Ariane Titmus will be able to do at the Olympics. Apart from that, not a huge amount going on in the world of sports. So Martin, that is what is making news.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
Greg Martin joins us every single Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Plenty to talk about as Broncos on the slide. As a Queensland Reds fan, does that mean every Australian rugby fan now supports the Brumbies or not? I mean, if you support any New Zealand super side, when they lose, do you naturally then gravitate towards the other Super Rugby sides? And Carter Gordon, leaving the Wallabies to join the Titans, amongst those topics with Greg Martin. Carter Gordon, mate, is that a surprise or how much of a surprise?
I'm going to put this down to Eddie, mate. This is all Eddie's fault. I know you go, here's a long bow, I'm drawing, but the thing is he threw him in too early. He wasn't ready to be 5'8" at a World Cup last year. Failed miserably. Eddie dropped him. He's been playing pretty ordinarily this year, so I reckon mentally he's been stuffed. The World Cup, I've been thrown to the Wolves too early, and now he's going, listen, I need to get out of this environment. Expectations high. It was a little bit embarrassing for him. But Jesus, going to the Titans,
yeah,
please.
I'm sorry. I mean, at least it's not the Tigers, but you're talking about, I mean, this is not a side that has got a lot of go forward, that's going to win a lot of matches. Surely a guy that good, wouldn't he have been picked up by somebody else?
Well, if you're a playmaker at a rugby league club, if you're any good, another side might have picked you up if the agent had said, hey, I got the Wallaby 5'8" available, and the Titans are the only one who bid. Yeah, mate, he's 23. Maybe he does want to come back. He's a rugby boy through and through. So, Yeah. Oh, I played league when I was in. So everyone played league in Australia when they were young. So
I played beach cricket. Does that mean the Black Caps have got me in the T20 lineup? No, they haven't. And the other thing is I would have thought that surely Joe Schmidt's persuasive powers, the fact that he's there, and that there would have been every Australian franchise wanting him now that the Rebels are folded, wouldn't they?
No, there was Waratah. There was talk of Waratahs. Like, he's from Queensland. There was talk of Waratahs wanting him, but if he's gone to the Titans, that means nobody wanted him. And surely you'd reckon if you're a Wallaby, you're getting paid more than you'd be getting paid at the Titans. So, yeah, time will tell, mate, but I'm not confident. He doesn't, if you're going to play in the halves, you've got to be the best player quite often in the team. Will he be that at the Titans? Poor bugger, no.
Speaking of things rugby, so what, is everyone in Australia now on the Brumbies back, do you?
Sort of. No,
sort
not.
Of, no, yeah.
No, I'm losing interest because I'm not a Brumbies fan. Mate, I'd rather. It'll be an all New Zealand final, and how many times has that happened? We've never won a game in the finals in New Zealand, and it won't start this weekend. Yes, we'll be stopping and watching, but then we'll go, oh, we got close. And that's about it. What a familiar tale.
Quite a stat, that, isn't it, when you think about it?
Oh, it's dreadful.
And obviously, if you're asking me that and I'm the Brumbies player or the Brumbies coach, oh, well, look, we're not looking at that. We're just looking at performance. We're looking at what we're doing. They're putting it together. The other thing is they got dicked, the Brumbies, by 47 points when they last played the Blues at Eden Park. So that doesn't help, does it?
Do you remember the year when the Waratahs played the Crusaders in the final of Super Rugby? It was 96-19.
That's right, the 96ers, I remember. That's very special, wasn't it? Very special indeed. How's this though, mate? And obviously, the rugby leagueies here are just making just an absolute meal out of this. But we had Avon Lee, the CEO of the Hurricanes, on during the week. And they did make a decision to play that game in Wellington on Saturday, 4:35, because it's afternoon rugby. Look, they're moving all the club rugby, but also with in mind the fact that the Warriors are playing at 7:30 New Zealand time that night. So for the first time in weeks, rather than clash with the Warriors when a lot of people are going to watch that, they've said, well, why don't we move our game so that you can watch both games? I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
I've rarely seen such common sense being employed, mate. Normally there's jealousies. We see it over here. When you get AFL, a huge game of AFL in the same city, let's say Brisbane, as the Lions will play the same time as the Broncos, you go, you stupid idiots. People would actually like to watch both.
Why not?
And I know in New Zealand, there's a lot of you guys watch league and union. Yeah. So a rare accolade to the administrators for actually showing some common sense. Good on them.
Okay, I'm about to drop a name at you here, okay? This guy's going to be guesting on the show very shortly. Kevin Malloy, who's in a position of real power when it comes to Super Rugby. What's his role? Kevin Malloy.
So it obviously is a hard question because I don't know. I don't know the answer. Should I know the answer? I was only involved in Super Rugby for 25 years.
He's Frank Sinatra. He's the chairman of the board. He is the chairman of the new Super Rugby Pacific board. Did you know there was one? And did you know that there was a board, let alone a chairman?
No. What country is he from?
He's from here.
Oh, good. Well, at least he's not Australian. I don't feel too embarrassed. What are you going to talk to him about? The future of Super Rugby?
Well, the first thing is hello, Kevin. Lovely to meet you. Who are you? And what exactly do you do? And how long have you been in this job? And how come we've been... Yeah. Where's the office?
Where's the office?
Yeah.
Oh, God. And what happened to South Africa? Oh, no, they're not here anymore.
Yeah, and so how come you still call it Sansa when South Africa aren't involved in Super?
What are you going to do without the Rebels? Yes.
Yeah,
right.
do the final series.
Yeah. Kevin, that's good.
Yeah, no, look, I'm really looking forward to it. He's actually a guy who's got, I mean, it's, you look at his CV, mate. I mean, he puts the half the world to bloody show. So finally, Mrs. Marto, is she back or is she back this weekend?
She was back. She's back. The place felt like a hospital. I found. Do you have Dettol over there?
Yeah. Dettol protects in so many ways, is the phrase.
I just put that on everything. You swore you'd walked into the ICU unit at the hospital. It smelt clean, so she didn't look too hard. So it was successful, and I have not cooked since. It's been wonderful to have her back.
First of the two Super Rugby semi-finals are tomorrow, as you know. Blues hosting the Brumbies. Paul Tito, assistant coach of the Blues, on the preparation this week, the fact that they thrashed them 47 points earlier in the season, losing that top spot which they had in their hands. And a new, not quite novel, but certainly for New Zealand, brand new idea introduced by Vern Cotter to connect his players with their fans on game day. Paul Tito joined us on the program today. Do you prepare for a game like this any differently at all than you do during the season?
You try not to, but I think, the occasion is a bigger occasion. It's knockout rugby, and you've got to be better on the night than their opposition. So I think there's always a little bit more feel around the room, feel around the training, and that's why we're involved.
We were speaking with Roger Randall yesterday, and one of the questions I asked him was just simply that, do you get a feeling before a knockout game just how the team is, how they're going to play? Do you notice anything different with the way the players are at training, anything like that?
Oh, I think you kind of do, We've had a real focus on just the intent around collisions and breakdown and carry height and stuff like this all year. And when we've been at our best, we've trained like that. So I feel in this group, I think we're getting better in this space. And, there's a bit more onus on the players to drive the standard that they've set. So, yeah, I think you do kind of get a feeling how things are going.
It's been noticeable that the forwards have, I don't know whether the terms are muscled up or toughened up or whatever, but just playing more effectively. Can I say that, Paul? That this is just, and I don't know whether it's playing harder or anything like that. I mean, you're a much better judge of that than I could ever be. But you know what I mean? That the forward pack has got its act together so much more this year. Would you agree with that? And if so, where's it come from?
I think our set piece has been better. I think we've been more dominant in the maul and in scrum, and it's most probably seen from the outside that's been a real big part of our game. Why is that? I think Vern has demanded it. He wants to dominate in areas that are important to us, and he's obviously been in France for a long time to coach, and that's a bloody important part of their game.
No Paddy T, and that's a huge loss, isn't it? I know you got guys that are going to come in and they step up, and that's why you have a squad and everything else. But, he's had a great year. I mean, he's earmarked again to come back into the All Blacks. It's just such a shame for him, but all your injured players as well. But especially Patrick. Talk about him.
He's champion, Paddy. Obviously went away to Japan there, and now he's come back to the Blues, and I thought, like you said, around this year, I think he's been outstanding. He's led really well within the group. He holds the group really well. And he's just a good bugger. And he's been playing some brilliant rugby. I think his ball carry has been exceptional. His height and his leg drive at times has been really, really good. So, hey, like you say, we'll miss him. We will miss him a lot. And there's an opportunity for someone else, and that's the beauty of sport. Someone else gets to step up and make a name for himself. And here we go.
That loose forward trio has also been excellent. The combination it's been spot on, hasn't it? Mex always talks about this, about getting that combination right. Do you feel it has been this year?
Yeah, I reckon that they've played well together, but they've played well individually. So when you get that bit right, it's easy to play well as a loose forward trio, because every week they've been really, really good. They've been consistent. They've been working on their game, and they're good mates too. Those three, they've built something special this year, and long may that continue for another couple of weeks before we lose Aki. Yeah,
Paul Tito with assistant coach of the Blues. So is there, or how much emotion is there around that, and knowing that, hey, if it doesn't work, this could be his last game. It might be another game next week. It could be his last game on Eden Park. Who knows how it all finishes? The Chiefs could win, and you might get a final at Eden Park. Do you talk much about that, or does that become a distraction?
Oh, I think that's distraction. You don't worry about that. You worry about the now. The now is those three doing what they've been doing all year. And, we're going to need that.
The run-in wasn't the best, was it, mate? And I know that it was a couple of weeks ago, and, all of that can be put to bed by continuing to win in that. But losing to the Crusaders and then the Chiefs' last try, do you think about, hey, we should have been at home throughout all of this? Or again, is that just, can't even be bothered with it?
you can't look back. You know, you got to look forward and see what you can control. You know, you know what I mean? Like, I was gutted when they scored that last try. You know, I put my hand up. I was gutted. I knew it could be a big moment, but it's only a big moment if you beat the Brumbies tomorrow night at Eden Park. And at the moment, that's the job we've got in hand. So let's worry about the one we've got in front of us.
Where are they dangerous, mate?
Mate, they're Maul's dangerous. They haven't shown it as much this year, but they're a sleeping giant in that space. So we know the last time they played around us a bit, we've got pretty good idea, I reckon. They're going to come and knock on our door and see how strong we are in there. So their Maul's good. The back row's efficient with ball in hand, and they're good over the ball. You know, a lot of things that I'm talking about here are collisions. You know, they're big bodies, and they're going to try and come here and dominate us.
Round 8. You gave it to them hard, man. 46-7. What do you take from that?
I think they took a lot more than us. You know, you could think back to that game. It was after both of us had a bye, and we both came in, and they were off the game. And since then, they haven't lost the game. So, you know, they took a lot out of that. They've picked up their physicality from their pack. They've demanded more, I feel, and they've become a better team.
The Tight Five.
Keep them coming, people. Love hearing from you. Love your calls, your contributions, your text messages, any opinion or attitude. We welcome it here. We're just goofing off, talking about sport. That's what we get paid to do every afternoon. I'm very grateful as a result. 5 separate sporting topics. When the bell dings, we move on to the next bloody topic, Lachlan. Black Caps versus the West Indies. I told you, Lachlan, I warned you. I said, don't go too early on this. Sharks Dolphins tonight, 9:50. Who you got? Carter Gordon has gone to the Titans. Is that a loser move? Is that a loser move for him? Why wouldn't he stay with Australian rugby? Surely that there would have been one of the other Super Rugby Australian sides that would have picked him up. Or even one of the New Zealand sides. The logo is dead. Let's talk about Jerry West. A couple of brand new coaches for the All Blacks. As I said, the management team is now up to 25. It does seem a little excessive. And being at the Rugby World Cup last year, I mean, there's some mirth around this as well. The amount of people walking around in official All Black gear, strutting around in official All Black gear. You put one of those jerseys on, you send the team overseas, everything all of a sudden grows another 6 inches in importance. Mavs versus Celtics as well we'll talk about. Let's start there, Locke, because I'll just quickly update that score for you. You know, I know that, you're probably at work, people, and you're probably doing all of that kind of, oh, my God, is that for real? Is that for real? It was 51-50 at halftime to the Mavs. It's now 91-70 to the Boston Celtics.
Boston have outscored the Mavs 41-19 in the second half.
It's over. It's over. Okay, we don't even have to talk about it anymore, do we? It's over.
No.
It's over. Okay.
Sweep.
This is they might get game 4.
No.
Sweep. This is a sweep. It's over. If that's the case, I don't even think Luka Doncic fronts up. He just goes and rests his knee for game 4, didn't he?
No. Front up.
Black Caps versus West Indies. Call it now because I'm going to remind you of this tomorrow. I said, and if you rewind and find the tape, I said it. I said it the last hour, man. Yes, I did. I said, be wary, be careful. Don't.
No, you said we've got this, and my
how can we possibly bottle
my
that,
mere
mate?
suggestion.
I said we didn't need a warm-up match. Is what I said. I said who was shouting and screaming about that? You know nothing about cricket, Devlin. That's what I said.
My mere suggestion that steady on. They've still got 4, 5, 6 overs or whatever it was, and they've got 3 wickets in hand. They're on just over 100. They could get to 140
Oh,
here.
you did not.
You scoffed.
I did.
You scoffed.
I mocked and scoffed.
And you know
I
what?
mocked and scoffed.
They got to 149. You know what's going to happen here?
You know what I did? I was even having a go at the drummers going, just stop this drumming when you score a 4. You're on 80, mate. And then they go to 149.
You're saying that about the drummers. What were you saying about the dancers?
I said the dancers are lithe and fit and sinewy, Lachlan, is what
you can't say
I
that.
said. Of course I can make that observation, can't
no,
I?
you can't.
There's both male and female
You're
dancers.
You're a 60-year-old man.
There are non-binary dancers, Lachlan.
Are there?
Are there?
No, this isn't. New Zealand's not hosting this World Cup. It's the West Indies hosting it.
All right, say it now. Who wins this T20?
West Indies.
Oh, you do not? No way. You're not getting away with that.
West Indies. I'm doing a Costo. West Indies. I wouldn't have said it
about run rates.
about
All about run
30
rates.
minutes ago.
Well, the problem we have with letting this slip a little in the bowling is that we're going to have to knock this off well in advance of the 20 overs, okay? Because it's all about net run rates at this stage. And because we got bowled by Afghanistan for 75, ours is awful. So we're going to have to actually, it's not about winning this game, it's about winning it comfortably and then going out and belting both Uganda and PNG, because that's what the West Indies did. There's still that game between the West Indies and Afghanistan to come as well, people. All right. Sharks, Dolphins tonight, 9:30. Who you got? This is a top-of-the-table clash here, Lachlan. Let's not forget. See, when I was looking at the fixtures, I was going, God, I said to you this morning, I said, that's a bit of a dull game, isn't it, for a Thursday night? And you said, listen, it's 2 plays 4.
It's not a dull game.
2 plays 4.
But you, like everyone, is so out on the Dolphins.
I've gone on the Dolphins.
No one thinks the Dolphins
No, they're done, mate. They're not even a top 8 side.
But how do you know
They
this?
did this last year exactly the same.
Hold up. But how do you know? Last year was their first year in the comp, for goodness sake.
Cut them some slack.
Who's their coach?
The guy that's leaving.
Say his name.
The guy that's leaving.
Say
mate.
his
the
name.
The guy that's leaving.
Say his name.
He doesn't even care. He's already
Say
gone,
his
mate.
name.
He's gone.
Say his name. What's his name? Ivan Cleary was gone. He still took the Warriors to a grand final.
Yeah, who you got?
Say
tonight?
his name. Who's their coach?
The guy that never wants to talk to the media unless he's selling a
Wayne
bloody
Bennett
book,
is the
mate.
coach. You look at their team. There's some damn good players in
I
that
went
team.
up to him when
They're
I was in
fourth
Auckland,
on the
didn't I?
table.
And I said, look, I don't like Queensland. I don't like your Broncos, but I don't mind you, mate.
What did he say? Isn't that what Laurie Main said to you once?
No, Laurie Main just said, you're one of the weirdest people I've ever met. He said, I like you, but you're really weird. Wayne was very gracious about it. And do you know what the most surprising thing about him was?
What?
How tall he is.
He's very tall.
Mate, I was
He's
looking
like
up at him.
6'4".
I'm 6'1", 6'2", and I was looking up at the dude. Yeah. Anyway,
he's
who
very
wins
tall.
tonight?
It's at home to the Sharks. They've got Nico Hines back.
Yay, they got Nico Hines back.
Brady, why do you say Nico? It's Nico.
Because I tell you what, he was Nico till he started playing for the Blues, and now he's Nico, mate. He's a different player when he plays for the
Dolphins
Blues.
have 2 key ins. One being the bloke with the best haircut in the world, and Felice Kaufusi, and the other one being one of my favourite players. Probably, I tell you what, my favourite non-Bronco in the NRL, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. I love this guy.
Okay, can I nominate another haircut? Because he's got the muff at the back of the head.
It's not even like a
nasty.
shaved
No,
top
it's just
with a mullet.
No, it's nasty.
It's just this weird...
It's just nasty. It's
Do you remember the
a bit
Ronaldo?
of pube at the back.
Do you remember the Brazilian Ronaldo hairdo? It's like that, but on the back of the head.
Okay, I reckon Ruben Cotter's mullet is the filthiest I've seen.
It's filthy,
That is filth.
But the thing is,
and when I say filth, and I tweeted this out the other day,
tweeted it out?
and a whole lot of people said, what are you mean? I said, don't you understand? When I say it's the filthiest mullet, that's a compliment, mate. Isn't it? If you say, God, that's filth, that means it's good, doesn't it? God, I can't keep up with your bloody generation, mate. I'm sorry.
Anyway, back to the original question, which has taken us about 3 minutes to actually get to.
Yeah, good point.
I'd lean towards the Sharks because they're at home, but I actually think this is a toss of the
Okay, here we
coin.
go. Fenelon's about to face. Now, what did I say? Okay, so we'll just talk you through this and walk you through this, people. Fenelon is about to face. Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. He's foregone the first ball. Oh, grow some, mate. Hey, grow some.
Is it Conway?
Yeah, Conway's facing the first ball.
Oh,
Come
great.
on,
Well, that's
Fenelon. I
also
want to see you wog it, mate.
Conway will leave it and he'll nick the side of his bat. And they'll catch it.
Oh,
Conway
come
will
on,
get out.
Fenelon. We all wanted to see you face the first ball again, mate. Here we go. First ball to... They're opening with a spinner. Oh, he's got him. Surely that's LV.
Is that a wicket?
No, that was plumb in front. He's not even appealing it. Anyway, we'll keep you updated.
Well, so it wasn't plumb in front.
Give me a winner tonight.
I said the Sharks narrowly, but I honestly think it's a toss of the coin. And
Give me a winner in the West Indies game.
Given the fact that I'm so far down on the NRL tipping ladder right now that I need to make up some ground, I might actually tip the Dolphins. Big Bob's in my comp. Did I tell you that? I added him to the comp. And by the way, Big Bob, check the ladder. I'm ahead of you by 3 tips.
We got a couple to go. Corey Flynn and David Hill. Is that enough coaches for the All Blacks, or do they need more?
It's 9, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it.
But it's 9 with the word coach in their title.
Yeah,
it's
9
not
with the word
including
coach.
your physios, your mental specialists, your nutritionists, all that.
No, there's another 16 of them.
Yes, and that 9 actually includes Wayne Smith, who I don't know how hands-on he will be.
He's
his role
performance
covers
coach.
the black fence as well.
I would like to see it get to a stage where every player has a coach now. I think that's where we're heading, obviously, and it's just a matter of when that happens.
Do you think it's going to be a cultural coach one day?
Has to be. Why not? Absolutely. There you go, Lachlan. In a week's time, Mark Robinson will announce that, finally. The logo is dead, and Ron Barr, his old mate, We'll talk about this with us in about 45 minutes from now. Also, we're going to play for you tomorrow a special treat. Ron did an interview with him, 36 minutes worth with Jerry West, and it's really revealing about all kinds of things about him. If you love your NBA basketball, this guy has to be amongst your favourite players. And the greatest thing about him that I admire more than anything is he still hates the Boston Celtics more than he's ever hated them. He died at 86, and we're going to play you a little quote later on where he had never been back to Boston.
No.
He'd never been back there since the 70s, since he played. He'd never been back
1974, the 73-74 season was his last season in the NBA.
So all of that time, he's been invited back there a million times.
And right up until, I think, maybe, the quote you talk about, which we'll play in a few minutes, which was from 2015, I think, he said, I haven't been back.
Been back.
And it's like, oh, well, have you been invited? He's like, oh, I've had my chances. I don't want to go.
Ever.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to go.
And I tell you what, just quickly, just for a nice contrast to what the modern day athlete, particularly New Zealanders and the Black Caps are right now. We've gone on about the Black Caps this week. This is a man, Jerry West, right up until his death, who was still seething and in pain from the losses to the Boston Celtics in the finals. He lost to them 6 times. He said, even though they finally got a ring in 1972, he says, I'm not over it. I'm still not over it.
Still not over it.
Yeah.
That's what we want from our sports people.
Devlin.
Well, it's a very warm welcome to the program to Dylan Walker, Warriors playing on Saturday night against the Storm. Thank you so much for joining us, mate. Appreciate your time.
Hey, fellas. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Let's just go back to North Queensland, mate. What a hell of a performance that was. I mean, would you consider that to be, if not the best, amongst certainly the best 20 minutes you played this year at the start of that game?
Yeah, I think so, mate. We started really strong and fast. I think that's probably just helps with the bye week as well. Freshen up the bodies. The boys were all chomping at the bit to get out there and put in a good performance. And I think in that first 20 minutes, it also helps that, North Queensland were making a few errors and giving us some leg up. So it all plays a part. Everything has a purpose. And, mate, just lucky enough that we got to put points on the board and run away with it.
Look, it was error-free, but we've started like a rocket in so many games. I mean, I even go back to the first game of the season, of course, but at times we've scored points, at times we haven't. It all seemed to come together, didn't it, that first 20?
Yeah, I think because our game and what we're focusing on each and every week is just, it's become so simple, and that's just, run hard, get a quick play the ball for your mate behind you, and once it comes to the last tackle, everyone just hopping in on the kick chase and, just sort of suffocate teams. And I think every team wants to do that, but I think we've just really brought that to our attention and to the forefront of our attention, that if we do that, and it's been happening the last few weeks where, if we put our energy into that, then it's gonna pay us back at the end of the games. And when it gets tough, we just don't want to be that team that breaks first. So a lot goes into it, but I'm just glad that we were able to build pressure off it, complete our sets, and then just stick to those processes where we're just kicking and then everyone just hopping on a kick chase.
Dylan, when it goes well like that, it's a very simple game, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes you can, in those weeks that we were losing, we were sort of focusing on a lot of things other than, our kick chase and our tackling. And I think we probably were going away from what works, to be honest. And I think we dumbed it right down because the personnel was out, and it sort of played off in our favour that if we do those things, good things are going to come off it. And, we've seen when we played Penrith, Dolphins, and the Cowboys now that those are the pillars that we want to hold our standards to each and every week, because success has come off the back of it. And, we're going to be saying the same things each and every week now, with minor details and game plan, but everyone knows what they have to do on board with our ruck control and, playing the ball fast and then kick chasing. So it's a real simple game plan, and it's working for us, very well.
You're too hard on yourself, dumbing it right down. We had Stacey on the program on Monday, and he called it being really simple and going back to basics. So when you say dumbing it right down, but he said exactly the same thing. Myself and Tony Kemp were in here doing the podcast, mate, and he said, just ask him what has changed, and he said, look, nothing really has changed other than what we've done is just reinforce. Let's just do this well, do this well, do this well, and then things will come off the back of it. That's exactly the same as what you've just said, mate.
Yeah. I actually just got off the phone to Stace before, and we just ask him what he said on the radio so I can just allude and retweet what he was saying.
Look, you've started all 3 of the last games, the 3 wins at the back of the scrum, playing lock. Is that the favoured position for you?
Yeah, I think it's just how my game has developed over the last few years. It's just sort of suited the way the game's gone as well, where a bit of ball playing in the middle it takes the pressure off of being a half trying to figure out where you want to be, where you want to end up at. And I think lock it's an important piece to sort of get, the big boys around the park so our halves can sort of, just think freely. And it's just, I like that sense of direction and that control, and then also just not having the pressure of being a half where I can run the ball, and then sort of just take over with that. And man, I think I'm just really enjoying what I do in the middle, and just how it's sort of played out. And it's where I think my best position is, to be honest.
When you're winning, Dylan, does it all seem a lot easier? Does it all seem a lot simpler? And I want to contrast that, obviously, with the 4 losses after the draw with Manly as well, and how you kind of come to work every week and actually and try and reposition, refocus yourself after like 4 defeats in a row.
Yeah, it's like I said before, mate. We had people that were probably playing through injuries, some sore bodies out, going around, our tack and saying, like, we need this, we need that. And, when we had that game against Penrith, we had a lot of boys pull out through injury, which they probably need a bit of a freshen up. And when you get new guys come in, or younger guys, you want to make it as simple as you can with them. And it's a bit cliche, but it's just running hard,
sure, that's right,
and tapping hard. And then we just added the kick chase into it, because it's those little things is where a lot of people don't want to do, but if you do then those things really well, you're going to get good things and you're going to get momentum really easy. And that's what we sort of identified. And when it worked and came through, we just doubled down again the next week. And I think a part of all those simple things, it's just our resilience those last 3 weeks have been too, where we've stayed real connected, we've stayed real close, not sort of thinking too far ahead or thinking what's happened, 2 or 3 sets beforehand. And, it's just everyone being real present, real clear on what they have to do in that set. And, you can't sort of dwell on the losses, but you can count your wins, but you've just got to stay real clear and present on what your next job is. And I think that's the mentality that everyone's had. And, mate, it's been awesome. It's been a bit of a journey, up and down roller coaster.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I think we've come out the other end and just made it real clear about how our game looks like, how we want to play and how we want to sort of attack each game. And, it starts from, Monday morning when you're coming in, doing video, revisiting the game the week before, and everyone's just sort of bought in, and it's hard work. And we've all spoken about it. It's just coming in every day and winning that day is massive and important for us. We know if we train well, then it gives us the confidence to go into the game to actually put in what we want to do. And I think that's what's been the most pleasing part.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Who is Kevin Malloy? Well, all you got to do is Google this man, and his CV is so goddamn impressive. What is the Super Rugby Pacific board? Did you even know that there was one in existence? Well, Kevin is the chairman of that board. How long has he been in that job? How many people work for Super Rugby Pacific exactly? What is their relationship with SANZAAR? What relationship does SANZAAR have with Super Rugby, given the fact that the South Africans aren't involved anymore? And what exactly does Kevin do, and what authority does he have? Well, introducing to you the chairman of the board, Kevin Malloy. It always seems so confusing as to who's actually running Super Rugby Pacific, as to what the organisation is. Every time you try and talk to New Zealand Rugby about this, they always sort of palm you off to somebody and then trying to get hold of something. So how many people actually work in Super Rugby Pacific, and what is the organisation exactly?
Okay, yeah, look, it's a fair question, because the Super Rugby Pacific Governance Board, which I'm obviously a part of, is relatively new. And just a little bit of background on that. The club's basically in conversation with the unions a couple of years ago, said, look, we'd ideally like to have a body that was completely focused on Super Rugby. Now, at the moment, it's effectively run as part of SANZAAR, and that continues to be the case. But the club said, how about an entity that really did just think and focus full time on the requirements of the competition? And in fairness to the unions, they agreed that was a good idea. And the first stage in that was to put together a governance team or a board that would oversee it, and that would then employ a small group of people, some of them that would move across from SANZAAR, or roles would potentially move across from SANZAAR, again to be focused on the competition itself. And hence, why the board is now in existence, and why we've just hired Jack Measley to be the CEO of Super Rugby. So, yeah, it is a little confusing. I get it, but in future, if you want to talk about Super Rugby, Jack Measley as a CEO will be the primary guy.
Okay, so what connection does it have to SANZAAR, and what is SANZAAR, given that that's just the international side of it now? Is it because South Africa obviously aren't in Super Rugby anymore?
Pretty much. Those conversations are ongoing with the unions in terms of SANZAAR and SANZAAR's role, basically. It's still played a pretty integral role in Super Rugby to date, and certainly this season. It's been instrumental in putting a whole lot of the operations together. But its ongoing role is part of conversations with the unions.
So how many work in the office?
For SANZAAR or for
both?
Super Rugby?
Yeah.
Well, SANZAAR's only got a couple of people. There's a CEO and there's a head of operations, and there's a guy who is sort of, I understand, part-time communications guy, as a contractor, effectively. For Super Rugby, there will be a CEO, a new CEO, as I say, that's Jack. There will be an operations person that's all the nitty-gritty around the draw and everything else. And there will be a couple of marketing people who will be effectively seconded from both the unions because of the focus that we'll have on fans and on marketing that will work as part of this team as well. So we're not talking about big offices and lots of resource.
So, Kevin, how much power do you actually have decision-making wise? And because I'm going to ask a couple of questions about the competition, about the future of the competition, and that. Do you have to go through all of the clubs? Is it a unanimous vote, or is it a majority vote? How does all this work?
Well, the way it works is that we operate under a JV agreement, and the JV agreement is with the two shareholders, which are both the unions, so RA and NZR. Our remit is pretty clear, actually, and is limited primarily to how we drive bums on seats and eyeballs. So it's really about that whole fan generation element. There are things that are called major matters. We can't just, for example, go unilaterally changing the whole structure or the nature of the competition or the number of teams involved. That becomes something that the unions need to make the decision on. So in that context, we're more a discussion forum, I guess, rather than a decision-making forum. But you've got to remember as well that you've got the CEOs of both unions sitting around the table and part of those discussions. But ultimately, any major matters would have to go back for consideration by the unions.
With all the other roles that you've done, and it's such an impressive CV, may I say, but doesn't this feel to you like it's a bit weighty, it's a bit top-heavy? Aren't you used to something more decisive?
Look, I think it's... I think what we're doing is we're making steps in the right directions. I'm a big fan of this whole competition having what we're doing now, which is giving it some proper focus and allowing the competition to be thought about in its own right. And I'm pretty excited to have Jack on board and a guy who's going to do nothing else but think about how best to make this a world-class competition in the future. So, that to me is the exciting element of this, and I'm happy to be involved because I'm a great fan of Super Rugby, always have been, and I think the potential for this thing is tremendous, frankly. And I know we'll probably get onto this in a minute, but I think we've had a pretty good season.
Oh, great season. No question about it. Look, and that's been the best thing. And, it's so good to see that the crowds, have come along, not for all the games, but for some of the games. But the quality of the rugby's been superb. Kevin Malloy is the chairman of Super Rugby Pacific, the governance board. So when it comes to issues like, just as a fan, you sit there and you go, okay, how can we improve this competition? Obviously, we've got to rewrite the final structure now that the Rebels are out. But just simple things like, why can't all of the players be, available for all of the franchises? You've got New Zealand players that are sitting waiting behind guys and you think they need game time. Wouldn't it be better if they're playing for an Aussie side? These kind of questions. But that's not your remit, is it? That's something that would, again, have to go back to the New Zealand Union and they'd have to decide. And that's what I mean by kind of a weighty. It feels like a quicksand process.
Yeah. Look, I think you're right. It's strictly not in our remit, but that doesn't stop us discussing it and raising it. And I sort of think that that's part of our role as well. We're a body that can raise these issues and take them back to the unions and have a point of view on them and have a way of potentially doing it. Now, the unions may decide between them that they don't want to do it, but I think we're a sort of consolidated voice of the fan to say to these guys, we think this would be a particularly good idea, right? So it's, so the fans have actually, or I'd like to think, to the extent of the sort of things you're talking about, I think we're giving the fans a bit of a voice and going, again, this is how I think we can make this a world-class competition. So it's a great discussion for them to be putting these elements to the unions, but it's ultimately the union's call.
Would you be in favour of that yourself, though? Do you think that's a good idea for a starter?
The idea of players being able to move around with the Super Rugby franchise from a personal perspective, and again, put my competition hat on, I think that would be a really compelling thing. I would love to see Richie Mo'unga still playing in our competition, for example. How good would that be?
Jerry West, the logo. I mean, it doesn't get more important or long-lasting, everlasting legacy, in fact, than that, does it? He is the official NBA logo, a legendary figure in American basketball circles. His CV, almost second to none. But he only ever won one title. That's because he was battling always the fantastically gifted champion called Bill Russell, right, throughout that whole 60s period where the Celtics owned the Lakers. Jerry West, in the words of his old mate Ron Barr, the logo. What a legend of a basketball player, but also what a prince of a man.
You're absolutely right about that. I interacted with him a number of times, especially when he was involved with the Warriors organization in those early days when Joe Lacob bought the team and, of course, started their run of NBA championships. And I know we both had a connection to West Virginia. My grandparents lived in West Virginia, and, of course, he grew up there in West Virginia, went to the University of West Virginia. But he was a consummate professional, a consummate gentleman, and it was just something unique about him. And I can't put my finger on it except for to say the word success. He went to the NCAA championships a couple of times when he was playing for the University of West Virginia. He also, of course, had great success in the NBA as a player. He was a defining figure in the league for more than 60 years. He distinguished himself not only as an NBA champion and an all-star. Matter of fact, he was an all-star in all 14 of his playing seasons.
Wow.
But he was also a consummate, competent competitor, and he was the league's first finals MVP, and he made the rising to the occasion, because I remember seeing some film of him when he was playing, and he would make shots you didn't believe, and that is how he got his nickname, Mr. Clutch. 4 decades with the league, not only as a player, but also as somebody who was in the front office. And I guess his biggest trade, if you think about it, was the trade that got him not only Kobe, but Shaq. And think about that and what that did for the Lakers' legacy. So, yeah, he's going to be missed in more than just one or two ways. He's going to be missed in many ways.
Ron, the fact that he's the logo out of all of the players that they could have chosen, that just says so much about him, doesn't it? And also, just briefly tell us about, look, he played at a time when Bill Russell absolutely dominated, and so for years, just battled against that Celtic side, couldn't win a championship, and finally won one. But you think about that nowadays, how many players would have whatever it takes to stay with that same side and keep trying? They'd actually do the Kevin Durant and just run off somewhere and try and create a team, wouldn't they?
Well, that's merely because of the money. You're absolutely right about it, and I think that's a human nature type of situation. I think if I was playing on a team, no matter who that team was, and somebody offered me $50 or $60 million for a season, that is guaranteed money, unlike the NFL, I would have to think hard and long. Because you've got to remember, it is a business, so it can be worked the other way, where a team, can let you go or not, pick up your option on your contract and everything. But that was not his nature, and I think it goes back to his growing up in West Virginia. I don't know if you know much of his backstory, but he was abused as a child. I think it was by his father. It was a very tough life there, but it seemed to set him on a path in which he was very thoughtful and concerning about people. And so if it was a negative in any way, it ended up being a positive on who the man Jerry West was. I cherish it. When I heard that he had passed away, I thought to myself for about 10 minutes, I just cherished our conversations. Any question I would ask him, he always honestly answered it. And so we've lost not only a talent, but also somebody who was just outstanding.
Yeah, finally, just talk us through that, how good he was. I mean, calling him Mr. Clutch. And, of course, this was in an era where the game was completely different. There was no three-point shot and all of that. And also, he wasn't a big man in terms of physically big.
He was smart. And I think that's the thing that made him Mr. Clutch. He understood the game in ways that most players don't. If you happen to be a power forward, you understand it as a power forward. If you're a guard, you understand it as a guard. Never intimidated by anything, either size or talent. And you put that together, and I think you can understand why he was so good and why he made his team so good as well. So, that's kind of the way I look at him. I mean, every time I talk to him, the one thing I remember about my conversations with him was I would ask him a question, and he didn't give me a 5-word answer. He would go into details on the question that I asked, and I came away knowing more about the subject I had asked him about than I knew before I asked him the question. And I think that's a high compliment to a great man and a great athlete and a great player.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
You better believe it!
The Platform.